Hey everybody,
Hey everybody,
how's it going? I'm Jonathan.
I'm Jake.
This guy, he invented the design sprint. He keeps telling me this.
Yeah. Don't
Yeah,
forget, John.
I won't forget. I'll
This
never
guy,
forget.
CEO of Adrian Smart, great hair.
Gray hair.
Great.
Oh, great hair. Thank you very
Great
much.
hair, great hair.
So, welcome to the web class, How to Run and Sell Design Sprints. And so first of all, let's see. Tell me in the chat if the connection is okay, because I'm not sure exactly how bad the connection is going to be today.
We're going to manually type in ones and zeros just to send the
exactly.
video.
Also, by the way, there's a 10 to 15 second delay that we will have. So when I ask a question, it's like 15 seconds. And then also let us know where you're from. Do let us know where you're from. So today's presentation is going to be about an hour and a half. And the first hour, I'm just going to be giving you a little bit of an overview about the especially around the selling design sprints and kind of how to integrate design sprints into your consulting life or your work life or whatever you're doing in business.
It's a good talk.
Thank you.
Good.
I appreciate that. Then there'll be a live. There's a small bit of sound lag. Okay, that will go away when we go into the actual slides. So then at the end, we're going to do a live Q&A with Jake. So you can ask Jake whatever you want. And Jake's going to be maybe eating a sandwich. Who knows?
Who knows?
Yeah, who actually?
Probably eating a sandwich.
Yeah, mostly eating a sandwich. That's what Jake does. What do you want me to do? It's fine, you can talk.
So if you pull the mic over and put it where it
this mic?
Yeah, that one there, and then just put it on the low end of the post-it.
On the end of the... Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Let me just... Okay, so I think enough people are in. We're just going to straight away jump into it. We're going to turn off our video so that I can open up the slides. And maybe you can turn off your laptop sound because I can hear your Slack. We're going to turn off the video and we're going to go to the slides. So you're going to see that right now. Let me know in the chat so that Laura can tell me and Laura can tell Callum. Let me know in the chat when you can see the first slide. I really appreciate that. Let's see if I just do entire screen. That seems to work better. And I go, yeah. Okay, so let me know when you see 3 secrets to running and selling design sprints. It's kind of annoying for everyone watching because actually there is this delay. So they'll be like saying yes, and I'll be like talking and saying nothing.
Right.
It's good times. It's really, really good times. I should
probably use a little texture in the back of the slide. Like it's design sprints.
It's really beautiful.
That's a good one.
Oh yeah, Callum, you can leave the air conditioning on, I think. Let's just see if people find that annoying. It's on?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. It stopped making noise. Okay.
It's already doing for sure.
Is it, you need to tell me if, sorry. I didn't really tell Callum stuff here. You need to tell me if people are replying. So Laura's going to be telling you stuff. Okay. She didn't say anything? Okay, everyone says see it. Okay, Laura, just let Callum know the answers to the questions so that I know what's going on here. All right, great. People see it. Then we can go right into it.
I'm going to go get a sandwich.
All right, dude. Thanks.
I'll be back.
Tuna melt, right?
Free tuna melt for the tuna boys.
Yeah. So Callum, don't worry about talking. I just need to know the answers to the questions so that because I can't see the comments.
What's going on?
All right. So welcome to web class, everybody, and sorry for that you have to wait a few minutes for us to get started. That's what happens when you do live stuff. So first of all, technical difficulty announcement. This is a live stream, and there's not much we can do about it. We're also in a location which doesn't have the fastest internet today because I'm traveling with Jake. And so here's the things that will make it easier for you to make sure you can see it. Number one is close the other tabs or other apps to prevent this from stalling. If you've Dropbox running or whatever, or if you've got YouTube open in the background, it will cause trouble. This is a very sensitive stream. If the stream stops working, hit reconnect at the top of your screen. If that doesn't work, hard refresh the page, Command or, and if you're on your phone or an iPad, there's a chance that it won't work. So maybe go back to the link and open it up on a laptop. You'll kind of be dropped back in whichever point we're at in the live stream. So one more check with Callum. Everything's fine. You'll tell me if anything goes wrong. All right, cool. So quick thing is this: we're using the same software for replays and for live. So if we said it's live, if you saw an ad or if you saw a post that says this is live, it is a live stream. We use the same software, but if you, on the top right where the comments are, if it's a replay, there'll be a yellow box that says this is a replay. Okay, so if it's a limited replay, which usually we have running for a few days after the live stream, then it's a replay. But you should still watch the replay because it's not something that you can just watch like a YouTube video. Those expire pretty quickly. Okay, and I've got some lovely animations here. So who is this actually for? It's for consultants, it's for coaches, it's for anyone involved in design thinking, strategy, business, agile. It's for designers, it's for business owners, it's for agency owners, and basically anyone who wants to be able to run and also design their own workshops. So here's what's coming up in 60 minutes. First of all, how to run and sell design sprints like a pro. So that's going to be the overall presentation. There's going to be a how we can help you. So we're going to actually tell you something that we're selling just to be super transparent. And then there's going to be a live Q&A where we'll answer all of your questions. Okay, so if you have questions right now about the design sprint, just keep them till the end so that you can, well, I can't see your comments right now anyway. Cool. So here's what the general overview is. How we built a famous multi-million-dollar business by focus on running amazing workshops. That's AJ and Smart. The exact tools and process we use today at AJ and Smart to run sprints and train expert facilitators. Practical tips you can start applying right away. So basically everything we did to get noticed by the biggest players from Silicon Valley and get our business to the $300,000 per month mark. And really just using a predictable, repeatable system. So if you are running a business, you're going to get that perspective as well. So we're sharing information today that usually, you don't find this stuff on our YouTube channel. You don't find this on our Instagram. You'll only find this in our sort of in-person events, which are usually private events or usually paid events. So we're going to be sharing stuff with you today that a lot of people travel for to see and a lot of people pay for to see. And we're going to be giving it to you for free because we're ready to share it. And we only have one thing to ask you for, and that's that you engage. So I'm going to be asking a couple of questions. It would be great to get your answers. The people who engage the most, even if it's just saying yes and no, these are usually the people who come away with the most out of it because engaging sort of locks some of the learnings in. So really do appreciate if you engage. If you stick around till the end of this web class, you'll get a very special gift. It's the LDJ Workshop Handbook. This is the workshop that we run in all the biggest companies in the world. It's basically a 1.5 hour compressed design sprint. We'll give you the PDF of that. That's also something that's not widely available anywhere. And you'll also get the slides to go with that if you want to run your own mini design sprint workshop, which is a great thing if you're trying to convince people that the design sprint is something worth using. So that's the LDJ booklet and the LDJ slides. So really quick test of the engagement. Who's ready to get started? And I'm just going to stay dead silent until we get a few answers. All right, we're good. Okay, you're ready. So I'm Jonathan. I'm Irish. I moved to Berlin in 2008, Berlin, Germany. And my original plan was to be a rock star or a filmmaker. I started AJ and Smart in 2011. Basically product designer for 10 years, product strategist as well. Started running sprints in 2016, teamed up with Jake in 2017. And myself and Jake work with almost all of your favorite companies, all of the big brands, all of the kind of cool Silicon Valley firms and large corporates as well. The first 4 years of working on innovation projects, I noticed 3 big things, and let me know in the comments if you've also noticed these things. And the first thing is busy work was like 80 to 90% of the work we were doing. Honestly, I think I spent more time making presentations and being in meetings that went nowhere and just were a total fucking waste of time. I spent more time doing that than actually doing design work or than actually doing innovation work. It felt like a lot of money and time. I mean, my salary was going nowhere because I was spending most of my time doing busy work. And it was kind of cool at the start to get paid to do nothing. But yeah, after a while, it got a bit frustrating. by the way, that light just went off. But for anyone wondering who I'm talking to, the Callum, our video guy, is in the background, and there's a lot of equipment, failing in the background because of batteries. So yeah, for me, busy work was 80 to 90% of the work, and I really, after a while, started to find that really depressing. Second thing is we spent more time thinking and talking about how to do the project than actually doing the work itself. It was like, oh, maybe we should use design thinking on this one. Maybe we should do personas. Maybe we should do the business model canvas. Maybe this, maybe this, maybe this. Maybe we should use this software. Okay, you know what? Actually, it should be 7 weeks. It should be 8 weeks. It should be 4 months. We really spend so much time talking about how to do projects and so little time actually doing the work. And because of these things, the third thing is that project fatigue always kicked in. Right, I would even, no matter how cool the brand was, no matter how cool the product was, after a few weeks, I would just always, and the whole team is just starts to get frustrated with each other and starts to, just get irritated that this is how we have to work, and the energy levels drop rapidly. And often people start leaving the company or leaving the project before the thing is even finished. So that's something that I noticed. And that just really happened a lot to me. So let me know in the comments, actually, if you've ever felt like the company you're working for is mostly doing busy work, not actually focusing on what's important. You don't have actual systems and crystal clear workshops for starting new projects. You're tied to not like nonstop back and forth approval processes, my biggest nightmare of all time. And really just also let me know, like, maybe it's just me, but every time you have to run a workshop of any time, it takes you ages to actually create a new system for it. You're also selling work by the hours if you're a consultant. And actually, your projects are failing or not hitting the points you were really hoping to because of groupthink and useless brainstorm sessions. I think this, for me, is a big, big killer. And it's just like, it's crazy to me that these things that I thought so many years ago are still around today. And I guess that's also why we're even talking about this, so maybe it's a good thing. But I think for me, what it all led to was that I just wasn't enjoying my work as a designer. And I was like, why the hell did I end up doing this, right? Why did I bother becoming a designer if all I'm doing is just being stuck in these kind of political meetings? So my problem and your problem in this case is that you're stuck thinking that someone else is going to fix this problem for you or your company. You really do think someone's going to come along with a system, with like, maybe it's going to be a project manager. Maybe your company is going to do like a big company culture workshop. Maybe McKinsey will come in and solve this system issue for you. But actually, the truth is, nobody is going to solve this problem for you. Really, it's just going to keep continuing at the company you're working at or with your clients. And for me, like I said, a few years back, I was really starting to hate my work. We were a small, classic, traditional design agency based in Berlin. We were 4 people, and we were doing the classic thing that design agencies do. And it was honestly the same as being in the corporate world. We would get a project, we would work on it for a few weeks, we would show the client, they wouldn't like it, then we would go back and forth and do brainstorming sessions and in and out and in and out. Like it just was like this sort of endless cycle. It was a custom project every time. They had huge demands. We were doing loads of overtime. We would start getting bored of the projects because they would go on for like 6 months, 7 months, 8 months. And it was just also stressful. And it was, for us, the team was just not happy. And it was this endless cycle where it felt like this is how every product or every design project needs to be. And for me, it was this feeling that disappointment and frustration and lack of energy was what every project felt like. It was just this feeling like at the start it was amazing, but after a few weeks or sometimes even after one bad meeting in one day, I'm just like, oh God, I really, really hate doing this. I'm going to show you a little bit of a metaphor for how it felt. And for me, what I see, how it looks like in most companies today. So here's a little metaphor for how projects look. On the left side, a group of colleagues have arrived in a train station, and their goal is to get to this pitch meeting on the right-hand side. Now, on the bottom of the screen, you can see the energy level is high, the decision-making power of this team is very high, and the frustration level is green. I guess high and green makes sense, whatever. And so they're feeling good, right? So at the start of the day, they're feeling good. Now they need to get to the hotel. So this team needs to get to the hotel. One person feels like they should take the bus 235. One person said, actually, I think we should take the, or forget it. Let's just take 2 Ubers so we don't have to think about it. And another person says, look, I actually think it's not that far to walk and the weather's pretty good today. So by the time they get to the hotel, they've already gotten some of their energy level drained, already frustration level is starting to get a little bit higher. Now they have to make some more subjective choices. They have to go to a restaurant. Now they can choose from hundreds of different places, hundreds of different cuisines, and the right thing to do it. Let's have a light meal. Let's have a heavy meal. Maybe let's get a coffee. Maybe let's go get a coffee and then get a meal. By the time they get to the restaurant where they're all going to eat, they're all a little bit more pissed off. Energy levels lower. Pointless decisions, and that adds up. And their frustration level is getting higher. So by the time they get to the pitch meeting, by the time they actually get to the point where they really need to work, they're feeling pretty pissed. They're not in their best state, and they've used a lot of their valuable energy and decision-making power on pointless things. So unimportant discussion and decisions take up most of the day. Let me know in the comments if that's something that actually kind of has you nodding, if it's something that you can link back to the sort of project work you're doing. Do you ever feel that a massive amount of the work that your day-to-day is, and whether that's with clients or whether that's working in-house, a massive amount of it is really just like almost like the admin and logistics, and having discussions with your employees or with your colleagues about, hey, like, how should we do this? Which system should we use? Like, who should be in charge of this thing? And it's weird to me to see, even within some of the larger established companies that have really great products, just how much time they also spend on every new project kicking off and just starting things up. It's really, really crazy to me.
People are nodding.
All right, just tell me. People are nodding, Callum said. So for me, that actually changed. A lot of that changed, or all of that changed after one flight. So right before the flight, myself and my co-founder were really feeling, this, like what I've described, this feeling of like, oh God, every project sucks. Like, I really, like, should we be in this world? Should we be working on products? Should we bother? This whole innovation industry, like, it just sucks. So we were on a flight to a client, and I brought the sprint book with me, Jake's lovely sprint book. And I read it, and it just like blew my mind. And I was like, wait a minute, why the hell? It was almost like, it was just this like aha moment, right? The design sprint, if you don't know, it's a structured step-by-step system for solving big problems as a team in 1 week. I'd recommend writing that down or screenshotting it if you're ever wondering how to describe it. It's like a description we use when we're talking to clients. So really a structured step-by-step system for solving big problems as a team in 1 week. And when we got back to Berlin, we really went all in on design sprints, because we realized that was almost like the missing piece of the puzzle for the projects to get them kicked off with something that gets everyone on the same table. And also because I had this aha moment that, back to this analogy again, back to this metaphor again. So imagine if the people at the train station had a checklist, had like an itinerary telling them what they should do. So, okay, you need to take the 278 bus to the hotel. Okay, now you don't need to think about the other options. Okay, here are 3 places you could eat, and you should just choose one of them. Okay, so it reduces the subjectivity. And by the time they get to the pitch meeting, they're still a little bit drained of energy, because they still had to find the bus stop. They still had to think about how to get on the bus. They still had to pay for their tickets in a country maybe they didn't know. They still had to choose between one of the 3 places. And they're feeling a little bit better now that they have a process, now that they have a checklist. But what if they had a guide? What if the guide brought them along all of these steps? The guide has the checklist. They have the checklist, but the guide takes all of the decision-making power off them. I'm going to walk you to the bus stop. I've already bought your tickets. Let's get to the hotel. I've already listened to all of your dietary restrictions and all of your preferences. So we're going to this one restaurant. So by the time you get to the pitch meeting, you've only had to make decisions about important things. For example, how might we improve the pitch, and not which place should we get falafel. So the solution in this case was having a repeatable recipe, being able to guide a team through executing that recipe, and it allowed the team to focus on what's important. And in this case, after reading the sprint book and testing out some of the processes, it made the person with the guide, who was me, the VIP in the room, it moved me away from being this sort of pixel pusher designer and more into this role of being a leader and bringing people together. So being the person who can guide people to do more valuable work is a killer advantage. So what can sprints in general, what can they be used for? So they can be used to kick off large software products. They can be used for business model validation, app design, organizational change projects, web projects, hardware projects, innovation projects, nonprofits, digital transformation. Pretty much anything you can think of where you can bring a group of people together and problems need to be solved and decisions need to be made, you can use the sprint process or a version of it. And for us, it really changed everything. I mean, we started using the design sprint just before, I think it was like September 2015, we decided let's just go all in on this before the book came out. And when the book came out, we had a lot more ammo on how to do it. And our revenue just like exploded, and the team size went from 4 to 20 within pretty much like 1 year. Actually, it was more like 8 months. And the reason for this was the clients were just loving the work and we were loving it too. So there was a lot of energy. So what we had instead of what we had earlier, which was sort of this everything custom every time, is we had a robust reusable system for kicking off projects, way less misalignment. We no more focus on the system. We don't have to think about the system the whole time, just the challenge. Clients loved using it. No more wondering what tools to use. We didn't hate each other. And we realized we could keep reusing the process for almost any project type. And it was really, for us, also profitable and in terms of revenue, amazing. So the cost of 1 week of our time now was the cost of 3 to 4 months of our time 2 to 3 years ago. And honestly, it's just a massive difference for our company. So we're happier about actually the way we run the company now, and that's like only offering sprints. That's the way we do it. We don't necessarily recommend everyone to do that. But it's for us how we went from being sort of a small business to this multi-million dollar, more well-known business now. And it's really not slowing down anytime soon. So before we get into a couple of things that you can do, a couple of you might not know who AJ and Smart are because you've maybe seen an ad and it's a cold ad. So you're just hearing about us for the first time. So really quickly, it's a humble slide alert coming up. So we are the #1 design sprint agency in the world, and also one of the most well-known innovation consultancies in general. That's something you can Google around and find out pretty quickly. If you start digging into the world of design sprints, you're going to find AJ and Smart for sure. We work with all of the biggest brands, all of the biggest companies in the world, a massive broad range of different types of corporates and startups. We work between Berlin and San Francisco, travel the entire world, training some of the best people, some of the best companies. You can find really interesting articles online, for example, about how Lego run design sprints at scale. We did a recent project for Kevin Rose, which was the app of the day. It was called Oak. We also myself and Jake run the Product Breakfast Club podcast, which is one of the top rated product podcasts right now. And yeah, we're really training like crazy amounts of people on how to do this while also doing it ourselves. So what I found really, really interesting is when we started to do the design sprint, clients went from, projects went from sort of never ending and always going around in circles and being very frustrating to getting emails like this where, a client from a large corporate is specifically talking about how much he liked the process. So thanks for taking us through the design sprint process. In my view, it was a success and it came down to great facilitation, making us comfortable. It's just like there's a lot of work ahead of us and now we have to work hard to continue the sprint momentum. thanks for designing this with us. It's something that's collaborative. And this is a client that came back over and over and over again. And here's another example. This was on Product Hunt when it got App of the Day, Oak. And it's cool when a client, obviously it's cool when they mention us and say they like that, but what's even cooler is they're talking about the fact that they love the process. They're talking about the process instead of the end result, which is kind of cool. So we've run hundreds of sprints with thousands of people, trained thousands of people as well. I sometimes like these little fire animations. We did a lot of things right. So, we are now the company that's known for doing the design sprint and doing it well with all these companies. But we also did a lot of things wrong, and things took a long time. So, for example, it took us forever to onboard new sprint facilitators for ourselves, for our clients. It took people a long time to gain enough confidence in front of clients. It took us a long time to gain enough confidence in front of clients running sprints. Some sprints worked really well. Some sprints worked really badly at the start. And not realizing right at the start how much demand there was for the design sprint was also really dumb of us, because we really didn't take advantage of it until about 2 years ago. But now we do kind of have this almost unfair advantage when it comes to, running sprints and doing this for other companies. But what we're going to share here is hopefully going to, break you out of the box a little bit and give you some of the things that helped us a lot. So I'm just going to skip that. So we want to share the advantage. So the hard way is starting on your own and learning by making the mistakes, having a few crappy sprints, having some pretty stressful weeks. And the worst thing that can happen is that you try running sprints and then the company you run sprints for is burned and they don't want to run sprints again. And we've seen this happen a lot also with design thinking, where a company will go in and it's like, hey, let's do this project. And then the client is just like, I don't want to do this again. Or if you're working in a corporate or in a company and you want to introduce sprints, the worst thing that can happen is if you introduce them and they don't feel like it worked, then you never get the chance to do it again. So basically, we now have a pretty straightforward system for running and selling sprints. And that's something we've been able to scale internally. And that's also when we want to onboard new employees or help companies to run sprints. And I'll show you that right now. So we're going to share that with you. And I'm also going to share 3 secrets to help you get started. So really, the design sprint works well. I mean, that's the thing we love about it the most. But also what we've seen is that people who are running sprints and facilitating sprints and these consultants are really, really doing amazing work and building businesses out of it. But for us, we're a small company based in Berlin and we can't keep up with the demand and we don't plan on expanding like crazy. So there's a lot of stuff that you can actually take also off our hands. So that's something that we're going to be talking about later as well. These goddamn animations. So I want to show you the toolkit, basically like the little magic potion that we use so that we can actually get people running sprints super fast every time. Number 1 is our online course. This is like a massive beast of a course that our employees take. They take that the week before they start at AJ and Smart so they can get up to scratch. Second thing is a step-by-step checklist, which is a Google Doc of every single thing they need to do when they're running a sprint. Third thing, it's a foolproof keynote / PowerPoint slides for the sprint days so they don't forget any of the exercises and they can keep all of the timing. Fourth thing is a clear design sprint delivery template for clients so you know exactly how to deliver the sprint to your colleagues or to your clients or to your bosses. Number 5 is what you're going to be getting at the end of this presentation, which is the LDJ slides. We use these slides when we want to go into a company or when we want to convince a group of people to run design sprints. Number 6 is guides for user research and preparation. This is also a big one. So here's what the sprint preparation guide is. This is actually a before the sprint starts guide. And this is a Google Doc showing you how to prepare for a design sprint before it even starts. Here's the checklist of while you're running the sprint, every single exercise broken down into insane detail. Here are the slides, the keynote slides, the PowerPoint slides. Here's the summary report. Here's the LDJ workshop handbook and the slides. And so those are all the things that we use internally. So I want to go through the 3 secrets to getting started here. And I hope these are the things that get you kind of pumped for running your own sprint. So first and most important thing, you do not need to be AJ and Smart to make this work. I know you're thinking, we have a lot of experience. We have a team, we're working with Jake. We have a sweet office. There's no way you can get started yourself. But, and because these are the things people say to us. They say, you need a team to be able to run sprints. You need to be living in a massive city. You need to be a designer, and you need to deeply understand the industry of your client, right? If you're going to be working with a medical company, you need to understand medicine or whatever. You really don't need any of these things. They're not true. So let me show you a quick testimonial. And this is basically like a real story. So Judith, she started running design sprints in July last year, independent consultant. She's run dozens of sprints on her own. Some of her first sprints were done completely remotely, and she keeps getting new bookings. This is her posting into the Facebook group, the Design Sprint Facebook group. She took our online course, and 1 week later was running design sprints, and keeps posting in the group now all of these, basically all of these sessions that she's running, which is really, really cool. And that's from, not being a designer, from sort of looking at, okay, could design sprints be something I could facilitate? And she's doing that on her own, which is really, really cool. Bill, really interesting story, started his own design firm, works with 10 freelancers. Since starting sprints, he's dramatically increased revenue. Actually, I think we've even updated some of the images here, so you can see exactly what he posted. And it only took him 4 months to bill over $120,000 of new design sprint business. It was actually $140,000 when he posted here. And really, really crazy that it's like, oh, sorry, we're getting some.
No, can you just move the slide slower? You're jumping.
Move the slides slower. Oh, okay. Sorry, everybody. Oh, yeah. When I move the slides, sometimes they flicker a bit.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, Bill is a really, really interesting case study in even selling. He's been able to break down the design sprint into smaller packages as well. You can see that on the left. He's even selling LDJ workshops, all that kind of stuff. So it's really, really cool. Jacob, some of you might know him from YouTube. He actually dropped by at AJ and Smart last year, took the course. He actually, he also wrote this, which is really nice for us. So he said, I feel really comfortable facilitating sprints because he had access to the toolkit. So he was interning at AJ and Smart. He had full access to our toolkit, and really, really quickly, he was running design sprints, of course, also making money from it. And he's a, individual product designer / blogger. So that's also really, really cool to see how quickly he was able to do that. So second thing, design sprints are a relatively easy sell, and right now the odds are in your favor. Jake is here with sandwiches, by the way. Do they look good?
She said it's the best thing they sell.
The best thing they sell is the tuna melt.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm excited.
It does look good. Look at that.
Oh my dear God.
That's just wonderful.
We'll show, when we turn the cameras back on, we'll show you yeah. So businesses want this. Like, it saves them a lot of money. It saves them a hell of a lot of time. It's also, these companies have the pressure to innovate, right? And they're looking for systems. They're looking for processes and better ways to do this. So they have this pressure to innovate. They want systems like this. They're also seeing other companies doing it, and they have FOMO, right? They're hearing that Google and Facebook and all of these companies are running sprints, and they're like, okay, we should be running sprints as well, right? And it actually works. That's the most important part. Because something actually works, it starts to spread. And the really cool thing about design sprints is it does spread internally at these corporates. So these are things like, for us, the things we hear, this has completely changed the way we work. We can't go back to the old way anymore, going around in circles in meetings. What's really cool about sprints as well, when we go into a place, we just keep getting called back, which is great. And it's really easy to convert people to that way of working because they can see it working so easily. So the odds are really stacked in your favor. Another thing, I added this recently, and actually, Jake, you might even find this interesting. Like, people still don't know about the design sprint. It's crazy, right? I think we keep thinking, because we're in this bubble, we keep thinking that, oh yeah, you know what, it's over. Everyone knows about the design sprint now. Everyone's already going to be a design sprint facilitator. But design sprints are still flying under the radar when compared to something like design thinking and UX design. It's not something that has exploded in any way yet. And if you're hearing a lot about it, it's just because you're in this bubble. And I think even like myself and Jake keep forgetting this and forgetting that when we're talking to an audience or when we're talking to a company, they're often hearing it for the very first time, which is really even a shock to me in 2019. So we also talk about, especially when we're talking to our clients, we talk about the opportunity cost of not running a sprint and some of the effective things that we've had, or some of the effective ways that we've been able to explain that. And just this ugly ass slide here just kind of gives you the quick overview. So a lot of companies, when they're not using a system, not using a repeatable system, it takes them months to just try to figure out what direction to take. So a lot of the time, because of this, this smells so good, by the way. The guys are just like, I actually don't know if I'm going to be able to concentrate if you guys are biting your food in the background.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry. But maybe you can eat it downstairs or something. Because I'll be super distracted because it sounds so delicious.
How long do we have to
I actually need you to stay here. I'm sorry, dude. You have 15 minutes?
Okay.
Is that all right? You know what? We can even knock on the window.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so just take your time. Sorry about that, dude. For everyone listening, these guys have like these two big sandwiches that are super delicious, and I'm so easily distracted. Callum just bit into his sandwich, and I'd like hear just... You all probably heard it as well. Okay, so without the design sprint, many projects don't even, like they often don't fail or don't even launch at all. So even putting that at the start just increases the chance of something like this succeeding. And if you think about a team, right, a team that could be working on a product at a company, they could be paying up to $280K per year in salaries when 70% of the time, these employees are just doing busy work, right? When we explain that to clients, they're like, holy crap, you're right. Like if this team has no direction, if they have nothing to do, and if they have no clear tasks, and if they're constantly thinking about the system, we're basically paying people to do nothing. With a sprint, you can find a clear direction in under 2 weeks. You can bring a team together. You can align a team super fast. The same team can work on multiple projects, so better utilization. And in the end, if you're able to align quickly and find a direction quickly, you have better outcomes, less money spent on wasted, failed launches. So it does actually work. So clients or colleagues or, within your company, they want to do more once they've done a sprint. It's not like something you have to force people to do. And the demand is just really just going to keep growing over the next 2 years. 2 years ago, when we started talking about the design sprint to people, we were like, I think, it's just the start of it right now. But we really didn't realize it was really barely even started. And I think we're still at that point today. And obviously, just a reminder, AJ and Smart can't help everyone. So this is actually really cool. This is an ex-sales guy at AJ and Smart. So he worked with us as head of sales 2 years ago. And he, of course, learned how to do the design sprint internally at AJ and Smart, just like on the side. And now that's his main job. He's a design sprint facilitator making, it's ridiculous how much money he's making doing this. And he's just facilitating, one workshop or one or two workshops per month, and it's just completely crazy. So he even quit AJ and Smart to go and run design sprints, which is kind of funny. So he said, it's so crazy that I can make the same amount of money. I would make it a big consultancy by running one of these workshops a few days a month. Instead of working my ass off, I get to spend time with my kid. And this is a really, really cool quote from Danny. So last thing, and this for me is one of the most important bits, is that you can break up the design sprint to run almost any type of workshop. So remember, the design sprint is a structured step-by-step system for solving big problems as a team in 1 week. Well, it's also a structured step-by-step system for solving problems as a team in 1 hour, 1 day, or any amount of time you have. Next week for us, we're running a strategy workshop. Actually, you know what? That's even this week now. A strategy workshop that's 3 hours long with for 21 people and just one person facilitating, right? That's taking the elements of the design sprint and creating strategy workshop out of it. You can do design thinking workshops out of it. You can run strategy workshops. You can run normal meetings in a better way. And in the AJ and Smart design sprint group on Facebook, every day people are posting the custom workshops that they're running using mixtures of the design sprint. Like LDJ is just a custom workshop that came from the design sprint. And this is, using them in nonprofits, using them in schools, using them in colleges, using them in like large oil companies. It's really, really crazy. So really quick question just to check if everyone's awake or if anyone's still here, and just to give me some self-validation. Are you enjoying it so far? How are you enjoying the web class? I'd just love to hear it. Give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down or a thumb sideways, just to get a vibe for it. And keeping in mind that I'm sitting here smelling an amazing tuna melt, which I will definitely be eating during the Q&A. So you're so hungry. Sorry, dude. Dude, I'm doing Callum. Listen, everyone. Callum's in the background complaining. I'm also not eating. Fuck me. All right.
People say yes, 10 out of 10.
Great.
Lots of yeses.
Lots of yeses, and just like one person hates it.
One person's crying.
One person is crying. So here's what we've covered. Number one, you don't need to be a team. You don't have to have a team to run design sprints and to be a design sprint facilitator. Right now is such an easy time to run sprints. Oh yeah, I'm supposed to go slower on the slide. Sorry about that. And the design sprint is a customizable system for creating other workshops, right? So those are the three keys that I'm trying to get across today. These are the three key things that I think if you know, it's actually something where you can, think about starting your own thing, or whether that's doing that in a company or doing that as an agency, or however you want to take this. So real serious question, who wants to take this to the next level? And that's I'm being serious. I know that sounds cheesy, but who wants to take this to the next level? I'm sorry, Callum. Callum's shaking his head. All right, good. So believe me, honestly, we know it because we tried to build this up for the last 2 years. There's an easy way and a hard way. And you have two options. The first option, which also works, right? It worked for us. You do it on your own. It takes a while to test and learn how to run these things and how to get good at it, and good enough that you're actually going to be confident. You'll mess up a couple of things on the way. And like we did, we lost a couple of clients who they're never going to run a sprint again because they think it just doesn't work. Option two, get it right in the next 30 days by getting coached and directed by the world's leading design sprint agency. That's us, by the way. And skip the wasted time and embarrassment. So if you're feeling like you might want to go for option two, some of you might see where this is going. So here's what you're in for. So remember the story. We went from this company that was sort of directionless. We're super frustrated in terms of running projects and going in circles, all this busy work, all this bullshit. Read the book and just started running sprints instead of working any other way. And honestly, it's been the same story repeated for everyone else we've seen. Like the majority of the people posting into this Facebook group, it's completely insane. Even people, especially people who read the book and try to do it themselves. Heather is a really good example here. She was already learning sprints. She was facilitating sprints for 5 years at the company she was working for. And she bought the toolkit, and she was able to use that to just immediately change how she was doing and completely up her game, which is kind of cool. It added so much to what she's been practicing over the last 5 years. So even if you're already, if you already know the basics of the design sprint, what we can offer you here is definitely like 1,000,000 times more on top of that. Like the masterclass itself, the masterclass, the group, like really people are completely blown away by it. People who are interested in facilitating. It's every possible thing that you could possibly want to learn about the design sprint. And again, these agency owners running design sprints are able to make money just selling small, tiny bits of it, which for me is just mind-blowing. So if you're actually interested in it, here's the offer. We have a product called the AJ and Smart Jake Knapp Official Design Sprint Online Masterclass. I don't know if that name is long enough for you. For people who've not run a design sprint before, it's the perfect system for getting up and running to run and sell your own design sprint, in the first 30 days. To be honest, most people don't need 30 days. Like the course only takes 2 to 3 days to complete, depending on how fast you want to do it. But 30 days at least gives you some time to try it out. For in-house coaches and designers, so if you're working in a corporate, this is a great product to introduce design sprints to your organization like a pro, also a great little career booster. And as well, if you're just a designer, freelance designer, it's also the perfect thing, to increase your price because you're able to run things like this. What it actually is, and I'll quickly go through this, it's 10 sections of video training, over 70 brand new training videos showing you exactly how to run the updated version of the design sprint, how to prepare for a sprint, choose the right challenges, how to sell a sprint, expert facilitation tips, and you really can finish it in a weekend. It's not one of those courses where you have to do lesson by lesson by lesson. It's more of a resource guide with a ton of videos and resources. I'm going to go through these slides a little bit fast, so they might flicker a bit, but don't worry about it. So, before the sprint, how to choose the right topic, what materials you need, how to choose the right team is in there. Day 1 of the sprint, expert interviews, the map. The map is a nightmare, and we make it super simple. Concept sketching, super detailed, exactly how to do that. Day 2 of the sprint. Day 3 of the sprint, how we prototype. Day 4 of the sprint, how we do user testing, how we schedule the user tests, the software we use, how the actual user tests run. After the sprint, how you summarize the results, how you follow up with the client, the iteration sprint, so how you do a second week of the design sprint, which is something that's not in the book, and this is super, super detailed and really, really interesting. For us, it's an important way to follow up with a client. Advanced facilitation techniques, how to set expectation, how to deal with people who are like causing trouble in the room, how to time box things properly, how to sell the sprint. We go through our sales process for selling the design sprint and how we convince people, whether this is internally at a corporate or, on a one-on-one level, or whether you're, maybe you're an agency trying to sell it. And it's also the only course that the tuna melt eating Jake Knapp endorses and is also in. So Jake is in the course, and he's going through some of the key points and doing a massive introduction as well to giving you the entire context of the design sprint. So it's really the only course as well that young Jake and AJ and Smart is in. Now, one of the most important things you get is over 1,000 mentors in your pocket. We have this kick-ass Facebook group where people are sharing how they've sold sprints, sharing their techniques for making custom workshops. It's a really great place to learn from the people who are now running and selling sprints. And it's from, people from companies all over the world are in here. It's a super, super valuable group. And it's also where we do our meetups and we post our meetups, and we have exclusive events. For example, on Monday, we had an exclusive design sprint meetup in San Francisco with Jake. And so this is really the Facebook group where all of this stuff is happening. So 72 videos, step-by-step training, private mastermind group. What else do you need? So we put in the facilitators checklist, like I mentioned earlier, which is a Google Doc, which you can edit yourself. Of course, and a PDF. And this is a super detailed step-by-step breakdown of exactly how to run the updated version of the design sprint down to when the coffee breaks are. Next, there's 30 hours of exercises when you're running a sprint. How do you actually make sure you don't forget them? Well, we also throw in our 117 slide workshop days, PowerPoint and Keynote. So this is a PowerPoint or Keynote or whatever that you can edit and bring your client through the day step by step, super easy. You also get our client delivery template. Our client delivery template just shows you how we deliver sprints to our clients. Really, really, really easy and really detailed. And keeping in mind, this is like years and years of work in this package. It's insane. What else do you get? If you have a really specific question or a really tough client, also, we have monthly dedicating coaching Q&A calls. So group Q&A calls live twice per month with AJ and Smart and Jake Knapp. So you can ask any question you want. Now, this is something we've presented separately to clients for over $5K per month subscription, just to put that into some context. And so that's monthly Q&A calls where you can ask anything you like about the design sprint, we will answer. You also get the only certified course from AJ Smart and Jake Knapp, meaning you actually get a certificate, a printed certificate as well, and a digital certificate signed by Jake Knapp, myself, and Dee. That's been something that people are posting all over LinkedIn, and it seems to be pretty helpful for people. People posting, we just take screenshots of this when we see people posting it. Masterclass is fun, entertaining, while being jam-packed with some really insightful stuff. So really, people posting those certificates online to show that they are now a sprint facilitator. This is also cool to hear. It paid for itself even before I finished the course. That's the kind of stuff we want to hear. So that's 72 videos, private mastermind group, facilitators checklist, keynote PowerPoint slides, dedicated coaching, and obviously the certificate. It's really, really massive, and people love the course. They love the entire thing. I'm not going to go through these in detail because my voice is starting to die a little bit here, but you can see yourself. These are just screenshots from the Facebook group of people going crazy. This is a cool one, actually. Just finished a 3-day design sprint in Japan, $20,000. It's just really crazy. The best online training I've ever had. These are all 100% real, by the way. You can go into that group and search for, oh, thanks, man. Callum just gave me water. Again, meetups in cities, facilitators meeting each other, posting jobs. It's really and because this is not free, this group is super valuable and people take it super seriously. It's really, really, really cool. This person says the best thing about the course is direct access to the live chats, with AJ Smart and Jake Knapp. This guy started a company called Dallas Design Sprints. And really, like, from what we've seen, from what it's actually done for people, if this could add an extra 10 to 20K on your income this year, whether that's through agency work or through freelancer work or through actually just honestly getting a promotion internally from being able to run this kind of stuff, is this something that would be worth the amount to you? And I think for us, we realized now after running this for a year that people generally have this feeling that it's paid itself off pretty quickly. So I'm going to really, really quickly skip through this stuff here because sometimes there's just like a random slide. So the question I think people actually want to know is how much does it actually cost? So the cost is 1,497 euro. That's about $1,700-ish. You can see that on the website. It's going to pop up on the screen on the right. But because you actually stuck around potentially till this point in the web class, you can have it for $997 for the next 24 hours if you use the code AJSJake78. So that will pop up in the comments on the right-hand side. And you can, if you're interested in it, if it sounded interesting to you, do check that out. If you want to certify a team of 5 or more, you like the stock photos?
Nice.
Yeah, if you want to certify a team of 5 or more, you can get discounted bulk licenses. Just email support@ajsmart.com with the team size for the pricing info. 30-day, 100% money-back guarantee, no questions asked, no bullshit. If you don't like it, we just give you your money back. We just want you to like it. So there's no weird kind of, oh, you have to finish this much of the course or you have to do that. Even if you download all the resources and just like are an asshole and steal all the stuff and then you want your money back, we'll still give you your money back, unfortunately. So thanks so much for sticking around. We really appreciate your time. If you have questions that are like more about, the technical part of getting the course, just email support@ajsmart.com. We're going to send you the LDJ slides, links to everything you saw here, everything that we promised at the start. If you stuck around till this point, we'll send that to you. So if you're hearing my voice saying that right now, in the next few hours, you'll get the email. So please be patient. It won't come immediately. Thank you so much for your time. Here's the stock photo again. Just, I know you want to see it. So there it is. So let's jump to Q&A.
Okay.
And, we're back.
Oh,
We're back.
The sandwich is really good.
Oh, yeah, thank you. I'm going to eat my sandwich during the Q&A because Q&A is... What?
I wouldn't know.
You wouldn't know. You can eat sandwich now as well. It's just distracting when I'm trying to...
I'm joking.
Don't let Cal eat it. You can eat it, Jeff.
Motherfucker.
Okay, so questions from Eric Q.
So Callum is the question so that we don't have to look through the comments, but you have to be quite loud because they need to hear the question that's being
Okay. So from Eric Q, who do you facilitate more sprints for? Large organizations or startups? That's where we're with John actually.
Oh, yeah, Johnny. Sorry, thought you were going to get your sandwich.
For us, it's mostly large corporates. We've done a few startups as well at the start, but we mostly do design sprints for large corporates, although I think you guys mostly did it for startups in the beginning.
That's right. I mean, although, I first created it was at Google, who is a large corporate, a weird one, but definitely a large company. And so most of my experience, though, is with all the startups I was working with at Google Ventures. And, really I've done a few with larger companies, but yeah, between me and John, who's now not here, we can just imagine him being there. We've done it with kind of both, probably equally, me more of the experience on startups and with big companies.
Cool. And a question from Bradley. If you may have on your own or do not have formal product design experience, what is the best way to get into this market full-time and run sprints or support sprint facilitators?
Yeah, well, one thing that's interesting about facilitating design sprints is that I don't think it's actually a design thing. It has the word design in the name, design sprint, because when I created it at Google, I was trying to solve a very specific challenge. I saw these teams at Google who had great ideas, but it was very hard to get started. They were really stuck a lot of the time, or they were just spinning their wheels. And a lot of times when they did get started and they did get going, the way that they executed the product they ended up building and launching wasn't quite right. It's like they hadn't ended up with the right solution. And I thought that starting off in this way with a structured beginning could really help. But the word design was something I used because I was a designer. I had some credibility at Google as a designer. And I also knew at that moment, 2010 at Google, you can imagine the iPhone came out in 2007. Design is a really big deal. People wanted it. So I used that name to get my foot in the door and let people try it out. It's really a problem-solving process, and you don't have to be a designer to do it. And in fact, you really can run a design sprint without having a designer in the room, although it'd be much better off if you do. So if you have experience, are comfortable running a meeting, if you're comfortable, sort of in that role of being a project leader, those kinds of things can translate quite well to facilitating. As far as getting started running your own business, that's something where I think, I don't know if you have suggestions for that, John, but that's less in my area of expertise. Definitely something where the community of folks who are in the masterclass, you're going to have a lot of different people who have experience with that.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, I actually think it's not so many, like I would almost say at least half of the people in the group are not designers.
Yeah.
And it's like people who were in the HR department or in the accounting department, or they're a freelance illustrator or a filmmaker, and now they're able to run these things. So it's definitely not prerequisite to be a designer at all.
Yeah, it's definitely the key skill for running it is not going to be design. I think that's true.
No. Okay.
So another question from Eric. What are your thoughts on service design, and how can design sprints be incorporated into service design?
I don't know if I know enough about what service design is to answer that question.
Yeah, so I would say that the design sprint, you should think of it as something you can plug into existing systems. So for me, it doesn't clash with service design. It doesn't clash with design thinking. It doesn't clash with UX design. It doesn't clash with any of these things. It's something that's there to help kick off projects. I think it's a really good way to kick off projects, to validate things. And when you're doing something like service design, where there might be multiple products and multiple services and multiple touch points that you're dealing with on a massive scale, you could use the design sprint to focus in on one important part of it and make that part better. So it might be when you're trying to improve one very specific part of the system that you're designing that you use the design sprint, but it's something then you add on top, and it doesn't need to replace any of the tools that you're already using, like, I don't know, user journey mapping or whatever. And you can even take I've seen companies, I've seen service design specific companies taking elements of design sprint and sort of attaching them to their service design process. But also service design is one of those things where it kind of comes back to people think more about how to do the process than actually doing the work. At a lot of design agencies that I've seen, service design agencies, they spend endless amount of time arguing about how should they do the actual work. So yeah, I think the quick answer to the question is you can use the design sprint as part of a service design process, but it's something additive, right? It's something you can add on top for a specific part of that process. Kind of a messy answer, but
okay. No, that's good. This is a question from Haroon. I'm noticing designers and design leaders disregarding the sprint because they think design. A lot of these people are attempting to gain a larger say in business strategy in their organization. Ironically, this is a tool that helps them do that, and facilitation in general. What are you seeing?
Well, it's an interesting thing that certainly in my experience, and I know we've talked about this, designers are, if you're going to have a problem with someone in a design sprint,
it's
the designers. And I get it, because as designers, we often hope that we will have we want to be the one who says what the product is. We want to be the one who defines what we build and launch. And, in my own experience as a designer, I started off, I was given a lot of responsibility without really knowing what I was doing in the beginning, and frantically tried to learn how do I do this job well? How do I sort of live up to having this responsibility to define how the product works? This is like back when I'm working at Microsoft on the Card Encyclopedia, so ages ago. And then you reach this point where maybe I get too much confidence actually, and I think that I should be designing the product, and I want to kind of like push other people out of the way. I'm like, okay, I think I got the hang of this. Now I should be doing it. And finally, I reached a point. It really didn't happen until I was working at Google, when I realized how much of a gap there was between, no matter how much experience I had or anybody on the team had, there's this gap between our expertise and how much we can imagine in the abstract sitting in a conference room, and what happens when your product hits the real world. And there is always going to be a gap. No one can sit in a tower and figure out what the perfect product will be, and then go out and hope that it's going to be 100% success. Just the world doesn't work like that. So it's especially hard for designers who are so used to fighting for respect, and when they get it, they want to keep it, to say, no, we're all going to be in on this, and we're going to actually let our tests help inform our decision about what we do. That's very vulnerable. And so, I think if you are a designer yourself, or if you're working with design leaders who are having the release of control that it involves, to me, the big selling point is this way we can be aligned, and we can be more confident that the design we're building isn't just us winning as a design team. Like, it's not just about us winning the battle against our colleagues, but it's actually about together the whole company winning. And that's sort of the way I would describe it and pitch it. Really looking at what are the pain points that design leader has today with their team, because often the design sprint's going to help with things like alignment, with things like when we're stuck, with things like maybe what we're building isn't actually getting results in the real world. Hey, if they're in a situation where they do have that perfect vision and everything they're putting out there is a tremendous success, okay, maybe in those situations you don't need design sprints. I don't know a lot of those companies, so.
I think we also have the problem when we go into companies that the designers are the ones who don't want us to come in. So the product managers will hire us, and the designers are super pissed that we're coming in to do the work, and they really often don't want to do design sprints because they see it as a threat. They see it as removing the creativity and the mystery from how they work. And so the way we pitch it to them is a little bit how I showed you guys the getting the people from here to here thing. I say, I want to get you guys from here to here. You're going to get to be even more creative, because I'm going to take it off your hands by just putting a system behind you. But I think it's more about presenting it as a guide rather than the actual thing that you have to do. It's like, this is going to give you it's going to release you from some of the responsibility of thinking about the system, so that you as the designer can just be creative.
Well, this is so important, this idea that you're helping them with the beginning moment, this moment at the beginning of the project, this 1 week or this 2 weeks when you first start off. You're not defining what the design is going to be in the design sprint. You'll get a lot of it figured out, but then of course there's lots more design work to do. Of course there's lots of things that happen in the organization beforehand the design sprint doesn't replace everything. And that's important too, that you're going to set them up probably to be much more successful after the sprint is over.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a super quick question from Monique, but how big does a design team need to be to get the most benefit from design sprints? So I presume if you have a team of designers, like how big?
7?
In the room, I would say it's important to distinguish between the sprint team, the folks who are in the room, versus the design team, because as far as the size of your design organization, that doesn't really matter. But the sprint, really 5 to 7 people is ideal.
Cool.
And the way we do it, just because someone else will ask that question, we have 3 people from AJ Smart running the sprint: a facilitator, a prototyper, a user researcher, and then we'll have 4 other people from the client side who are actually then we're working with them together. But when I see it working well in corporates or working well in startups, it's usually 7. I've seen good 6-person sprints, good 7-person sprints, good 8-person sprints. It starts to get messy then the more you add.
Yeah.
Okay, so another question from Nathan would be, what questions do you ask new prospects to pre-qualify them for a sprint? Do you use a form or do you get them on a call for that?
While you chew, my answer when working at Google Ventures, I used to ask founders, what's keeping you up at night? And this is a very cheesy question, but it gets right to the heart of the thing that's bothering somebody the most. And if you're talking to a leader, they have an answer for this. People have an answer. And not all the time is the thing that's keeping them up at night something that can be helped with a design sprint.
Too much coffee.
Too much coffee could be, yeah.
I have a baby.
Yeah, but there are also there's some business problems where it's we're right close to launch and I'm just stressed about all the bugs. Okay, design sprint is not going to help with that. But if it's I'm not sure how we should do this, or we see this big opportunity, but we're just beginning or we're stuck, then it's okay, that's a design sprint. And if it's keeping the leader up at night, that was my simple sort of hack for figuring out if it's a good candidate. And then I had a form of questions that we would ask people to fill out to be ready for the sprint, just in terms of who's on the team. Are we sure they're going to be available for the whole week? Who's the decider? Really, is that person the decider? I also want to know if after the sprint is done, is the team ready to execute right away? That's an important one. If they're not ready to execute, if you can't move forward right when the sprint's done, then you shouldn't do the sprint yet. But what do you guys do?
Sorry, what are you saying?
Sorry, there's another questions. Quick, but you want to add something to that?
I think for us, honestly, it sounds. I'll be a little bit more blunt. When we're on the sales call, and that's how we do it, right? A client will call and we'll listen to them, and we'll try to see if the problem is big enough for a design sprint, if it's serious enough, or is it just something that a design agency could do and just fix the navigation bar or something? So when we realize there's a couple of checkpoints where we're okay, there's major misalignment. They've been stuck for a long time. And this is a very big, important project that the company is going to invest a lot of money into. Or it's something that they're thinking about doing over the next 5 years, very big innovation project, but they don't know really what form it's going to take. And so those are the times we're not really using a form for that. It's just part of the sales call, and we're asking these questions, try to get a feeling for, is it important enough to run a design sprint for? Because we don't want our clients to get burned out running design sprints on small topics, because that also makes them not want to run sprints anymore. Because it's I feel like there's a limited amount of fuel for design sprints per year. And we even recommend to our clients to only do 1 sprint per quarter maximum, just to make sure that they're not overdoing it. So yeah.
Cool. Another question from Adam would be, how about in the effects of sprints done? I've heard that AJ and Smart don't offer implementation services. Is that true? What then? You recommend companies that to your clients for the end-to-end job, or
you guys probably just handed it back to the client and they would finish it, right?
Yeah. That's ideal, and I don't know if, that whole question, what's the best way to execute? That's a big question. I think I would be reluctant to say, oh, here's a formula for making it work. In fact, even I would recommend that if you're working as a consultant or as an agency, you want to be very cautious about recommending, here's a way for you to get to execution. Oh, sure, just plug in with one of these companies and you'll be fine. Because some of that is going to reflect back on you. And there's a lot of unknowns. That's definitely a failure point. So the ideal is that the company's executing themselves, or that they already have established relationship with the folks who are going to be doing it. I would only recommend people, if you already know somebody who you think is great and think is a great match for this, don't assume that that's a service you have to provide.
Absolutely. We straight up tell our clients we cannot recommend anybody to you because we've been burned in the past. We do not want to put our brand at risk by recommending someone to you, but we'll give you a delivery that's so that when you find a company, you can use that as the brief for them. So that's kind of how we do it.
Cool.
Maybe, just timing wise, let's go to quarter two.
Yeah, sure. So another 10 minutes. Okay. Have you dealt with companies that put so much focus on quantitative data that they disregard the results of the equal that comes from sprints? If so, how do you handle that?
In my experience, often sounds like it's going to be a problem before the sprint happens, but it is not likely to be a problem after the sprint if you have the right people in the room. And that's because the kind of data that you get in the sprint is just something that has to be experienced to really be believed how powerful it is. Watch just 5 customers, just qualitative data from a very small sample size. But when the team knows where the prototype came from, they know where that solution came from, they know all of the decisions that led up to it in the sprint. And so they're on board with what's being tested. And when they watch how real customers react, and they're together doing it, they're not having somebody read them the report about, here's what happened, here's all the bad news, but they're actually seeing it firsthand. Those results are very powerful. And I would say if you have the right people in the room, people know how to interpret those results. They know how to say, like, okay, well, that didn't work. This is a thing where we're going to have to get some actual quantitative data later or whatever. But the team will get it in a way that you almost just can't describe before you've been in your first design sprint and experienced it. So I actually don't sell much when I'm telling people about the design sprint on the test. I prefer to sell people on, you're going to get a prototype, or maybe in some cases you're going to get alignment, or you're going to get unstuck. The testing part is something that after they've experienced it, they're going to think, wow, that was amazing, and it gives us clarity about when to use quant versus qual data. But I just wouldn't worry about that actually being a problem until it's a problem.
Yeah, we also don't put a lot of energy into talking about the tests. And because also some companies get so focused on it, like you'll be in a sprint and there'll be a research team from one of these companies and they're like, oh, well, we read this Norman Nielsen white paper 3 years ago that says this, this, and this. And you're just like, oh, that's not the point of the design sprint, right? It's not the point to get the exact data points and then like align them up as if it was a quantitative data study. And some of our clients want it to be like this. So yeah, we really try to play down the tests because, like Jake said, they won't know how valuable they are until they're in them, and then it's a feeling it is hard to describe in a sales call.
Yeah.
Cool. And then I guess maybe the last question that we can fit in is quite a good one. Is what resources are actually in the course? Are they the real ones you're using at AGS? So I presume like the sales deck, the scripts, and things like that.
What course?
The math.
I'm only joking. So yeah, the course is basically the resources. So the downloadables in the course are what we're using in the sprint, right? So they're not live. When we change something today, it's not on the course today. We basically everything. It's almost like I think every month we're just checking. Okay, are those things the same things we're using right now? And we put them in. It's a massive amount of things in there. It's just like. Literally, here's all the files and everything we're using to run the internal sprints at AJ Smart. So if you are looking to do that yourself, it's just completely packed full of all that. It's good.
Maybe I think quarter two, but maybe more.
One more that we can we can end on Jake.
Yeah. So I guess there's a question here from Creator. I think the name is.
That looks like Creator. Yeah,
Creator.
I see that on there.
Any ideas if I can get the remote development company I'm using for my web app to enter a design sprint ASAP so I can go live? We've been building for a year now, so I guess what's the best way to get it?
Perfect one for Jake.
Yeah, how to pitch it when you're stuck, when you've been spinning your wheels. I think there are a few favorite approaches for trying to sell people on the design sprint that I have. One of them is to figure out what experience, and I think this is the essence of it. Figure out what is the pain that the team has, and then try to think for yourself, does a design sprint actually solve that pain? In this case, the team is stuck. It sounds like maybe they're churning. They're not sure which design to go with, not sure what form the product should take. So maybe there's an engineering team that's just chomping at the bit and building stuff that may not end up being used. I've seen that a lot of times. And in that case, the promise could be, hey, I see a big problem for us. We're not building a launch. We're stuck. Let's use a design sprint to get aligned. That might be the key word for you, might be alignment. Or the keyword might be a prototype. Maybe we're spinning our wheels because we haven't defined what to build, and we're going to use a design sprint to actually define it. By the end of this week, we'll have a prototype. That might be the thing that helps people.
It's making it more tangible. I think like having the prototype, like companies when they see it for the first time, like, oh, this is what we've been talking about.
Yeah.
That's such a big deal.
We
and then you can work
arguing
backwards from it.
Yeah. Sometimes though, honestly, if you are in this situation, if you're part of the team, you're frustrated with what's going on, you may just have to be really honest and say, I'm frustrated. We are wasting our time and we've got to try and experiment to see if we can turn things around. Maybe that comes with like, I don't think I can work on this any longer, whatever, but like whatever you feel like you need to do, it's this idea of an experiment. I see a problem here, and I think we need an experiment to try to make it better. And if you propose the design sprint as an experiment, like, hey, we'll spend 1 week of time, we can evaluate for ourselves, like, did this work for us or not? If it doesn't work, we don't ever have to do a design sprint again. That's, I think, a really nice way to come in without trying to claim it's going to be perfect, without having to say, hey, this is the right way to convince anybody. Just convince them it's worth trying.
Great. So keeping in mind that our
No, that's good.
Laura and Ryan are awake super late right now to make this stream work. It's like very late in Germany. I just want to thank everyone who stuck around. Really appreciate your time. Thank you, Jake, for being a point of it. And oh yeah, don't forget the discount code 24 hours from the end of this stream. You'll get an email about it afterwards. Maybe see you on the other side on the coaching calls. Thanks so much for your time. Bye-bye.